Hey, welcome to the Awesome Life podcast.
Thank you.
I love my guests. My guests are the best guests. And if you've listened to the podcast for a while, each time I have another guest on, they're even better than the one before, although all the ones before have been phenomenal. They're all helping us transition into the new possibilities of our life to grow. And because I enjoy working with online coaches in my Awesome Life Success System, I am always searching for ways for those coaches to be able to create more sales, to really optimize the way they do things. And of course, I always have to learn along the way. So my guest today is the most amazing, I love him, Maurice Jenkens, who at the moment is, well, I'll let him tell you shortly, but he helps optimize sales using emotional intelligence. And this is what really is empowering and will help us as online coaches, or even any of the women in transition, or some of you men out there as well, if you're listening, to really optimize your life and the way you do business in a way that serves you. And our emotions have a huge impact on the way we do business. So we may as well make sure that it works for us as well as the people we're speaking to. So welcome, Maurice.
Thank you, Karen. What a lovely introduction. Really good. Thank you.
Oh,
nice to be here.
Yeah. Oh, it's so great to have you here. So how did you get into this emotional intelligence, intuition, training and learning? Tell us your story, Maurice.
Yeah, I can say, well, that's going to be a long story. 47 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so intuition is not new to me. It has been with me even as a child already, but I sort of tucked it away. I sort of never really used it in business or in life, really. I didn't want to listen to it. And then my story, if you like, starts when I was about 28. I ran into a burnout, and that was my first job in sales, and I ran in a burnout. And the reason I did that is that I simply didn't listen to my intuition. I didn't listen to the intuitive signs my body was sending me, my heart was sending me, and my head was sending me. So I basically ignored it.
When you say burnout, you're talking like I get by your accent that you are not in the United States right now. Is that?
That's correct. That's correct. I'm Dutch. I'm from Holland, and I'm living in Sweden. And a burnout means like ran into the wall, as in got sick, like in 9 months or something.
Oh wow!
I had to stay at home from our doctor, and basically, if I hadn't gotten back on my feet within 3 months, I would have been like long-term ill or something. So it was a less easy period in my life. And I learned a lot from it because of that moment, I got into touch with people that helped me, that were very much intuitive in the way they treated me. And there were 3 ladies, and they all helped me coming back on track. And most of all, they helped me getting into touch with my intuition, with the real me in here, and what I really wanted, and my inner voice. And since then, I've been, listening, trying to listen, and trying to do something with it, and trusting it. Yeah.
And that's the key. That's trusting. I know that when I was speaking to an intuition coach years and years and years ago, and a good friend of mine, and one of her questions was, hey, do you have intuition? And I said, no, because anything that I found intuitive that I thought was the case, which I and I'm going to have to get your definition of intuition. It was incorrect. So obviously I didn't have intuition. I mean, it did not work out the way I thought it was supposed to work out. Since that time, oh yeah, I'm hugely intuitive. It was just a question of learning and expanding and trusting. So do you have a definition of what intuition is, or?
Yes, I have, and I have my own intuition, and I'm always a bit careful in creating some sort of a universal intuition, like the definition, like I know what intuition is for everybody of all ages and all countries. I'm a bit careful with that, but my intuition, or the one that I can really see, is felt knowledge. So you know something without that you're really able to know it, but you just simply know it and you feel it somehow. And it's that felt knowledge. If that visits you, then you should listen.
So that is the emotional intelligence that we're talking about.
Yes, yes, and there are one could say there are three versions of intuition. Or another way of putting it is there are three channels.
Oh.
And we have three main intelligence centers. We have our head, our heart, and our body. And the head is also known as the intuitive mind that Einstein talked about. The intuitive heart, think Oprah. And the body is a huge antenna. It's not just your gut feeling. It's a huge antenna that tells you right or wrong, that tells you yes or no. And as an example, I may have told you, but my mom, she always knew when rain was coming because she got pain in her shoulder. And when I was younger, I thought like, what's that for? Stupid stuff. But it was actually true. And it's not just the shoulder. It can be the hair on the back of your neck. It can be your guts. But basically, if your body is telling you something, you simply know. It's this grounded, earthly experience, like a mule. You're getting stubborn. You don't want to change your mind because your body is very sure. And if you are landing in your body, if you're getting there, then you have picked up a intuitive body signal.
That's really cool. And now, can you, for me, talking about different people in different ways and such, it took me a long time, and I thought I was really crazy, to say the least. And some people might still call me a little crazy, to say the least. But the fact was, everyone said, well, you have this gut feeling. Well, I never had a gut feeling. I always felt it in my heart. My heart experienced the joy. My heart experienced the pain. My heart guided me, very heart-centered. And it wasn't until recently that somebody said, yeah, you just don't feel it in your gut, but you got it all the same. So are there other things, and like your mom having it in the shoulder for rain and such? Are there other places that you might notice, like the throat? I'm assuming, is it working with the chakras, or?
In this case, not chakras, but it could be. I don't want to rule that out.
Sure.
But I mean, you are very intuitive, by the way, because when we had our first call, you told me something about the dishing machine and how you would fill it. And that just as a crazy example, but it's actually the same way as I do it. So you were really intuitive in how you were leading that conversation. It was very clear.
And for our listeners, as you know, I always speak to my guests beforehand, and that's how I know, because the bottom line here is you got to have fun, and Maurice is a lot of fun. I got to tell you, he's great. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, yeah. So the body and its signals are one thing, and that's sort of like this big antenna. You can have it in many ways. But your heart, even though it's part of your body, it's just single it out as your heart intelligence. Your heart may be a little bit slower than the body and the mind. The heart needs some time to feel in and to think, sort of to hard think, like, what should I make of this? What do I feel really here? But it's nonetheless extremely accurate. And your heart intelligence works more like joy. If something makes your heart sing, that's the language of your intuitive signal. That's the language of your intuitive coming through your heart. It's different than your body. The body is more earthy feeling. It's more stubborn, maybe. It's more this masculine style, American CEO, cowboy decision-making process in the now, where the heart is more like feeling in the relationship with other people and getting this feeling like, wait a minute, there's something off here. There's something off with this person. Not really sure what it is, but I need to find it out. And when you are a leader, or when you're a coach and you are dealing with other people, or if you're in sales and you're having this buyer right in front of you, your heart may give you a sign like, it's not, I can see what a person is looking like. I can hear the words, but something is off. And it's your moment of intelligence beyond words. It's then when you have to pause a little bit, not hit the gas, but pause a little bit and start asking the questions. Start probing a little bit without being intrusive, but simply speaking your mind, as in, hey, it looks like you're less enthusiastic about my offer than I had expected, or than I usually see when I make this offer to my potential customers. Am I right? And if so, may I ask you why? And you may be completely wrong. You can also start your sentence with, hey, I may be wrong here, but, and that usually opens up the other one as well. That's how you practically use it. Yeah.
So you are actually using your conversation not to push sell, but creating the intuition, sales intuition, emotional intelligence out of curiosity and allowing them. And like you say, being able to say how you preface it. So is this what you help your clients do? Learn how to speak and how to communicate in a way that is non-threatening so the sales come more easily?
Yes, absolutely. So the masculine gut feeling like type of intuitive signals are a bit more pushy. It's more like almost instant decision making without really thinking of it. Whereas the heart energy is more opening up. It's more flexible and fluid and more following. It's more pull than push. Yeah. And yes, we can practice this with images, videos, and even real exercise between a buyer and a seller, for example, or between a coach and the person that is being coached. So, and one example is here that I can give you double signals. I can give you, I can look like this, like frowning.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I can say all the right words, but I'm frowning. So why is the frown there? What does it say? What does it tell you as the coach or the leader? So how your body language is differing from what you say, that's one aspect of training.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that fact. And so if I understand correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you really look at the entire package and you have been trained in how to recognize things. So it just becomes easier. You're able to help people recognize that, oh, maybe that frown is not what we need to make that sale. Maybe looking over the person's shoulder is not the way to connect, but too much in your eyes looking at them is a little bit scary as well. And also, you know what you need to do? No. Would you be interested in? And the way you speak to people, I guess, is, if
Yeah,
I'm understanding correctly.
yeah, very much so. And on top of that, we also have the intuitive mind. So if you are a so-called head type, so we all have, of course, 3 intelligence centers. We have them all 3, but one of these 3 is the most dominant. One of these 3 is our preferred channel, if you like. And if you're a head type, then you most likely perceive intuitive signals more often through the head than heart and body, or easier at least. And if you are, so the difference between an intuitive thought and a normal thought or mental clutter is that a intuitive thought doesn't leave you alone. It keeps coming back. And a very practical example is that, I guess you've been with that as well, is that you're constantly thinking of someone, maybe a client, maybe a family member, someone that's in your mind all the time. And at some point, that person calls you, almost when you're thinking of him or her. Or you call. And I've had that, literally calling a customer and then, or a potential buyer who then says, oh, what a coincidence. I was just thinking of you. I was just talking about your offer. Yeah, that's a coincidence. So
there are no coincidences, Maurice. There are no coincidences.
No, that I strongly believe you're right, and that we are talking, that's definitely not a coincidence either. It's just synchronization somehow.
Yeah.
But also the intuitive thoughts, it's not just that I don't leave you alone. They are like in between the clutter in our heads. It's a softer thought somehow. It's not a hard tone. It's softer and it's easy to miss. Just like your heart intuitive signals. If your heart jumps of joy, it sings a little bit. It's short. It's a short moment, right? And then it disappears again. And the same, this knowledge in your body. You can be very sure for a while, and then your head starts to doubt. And should we really believe this? And and you can question in yourself forever and lose your intuitive signals wherever they come from. But if you have a intuitive thought that is really your intuition, it's really the real you giving you an idea, it doesn't stay in your head. It's sort of, you get a trigger reaction. First of all, your heart sings of joy, like, yes, I want to do that. Yes, I want to start my own company with something. And then the next step is your body agrees. And if your body agrees, you feel energized. Whereas if your body does not agree, or if your heart is not aligned with your thoughts, you feel less energy, you will not feel happy, and you will not get more thoughts. So once you're on it, once you're really on a right track, you will be inspired. It just flows. You will just get more and more and better ideas. I can't stop talking about this. But if you would ask me to, I don't know, read a book about chemistry, the book will be unread a year from now. No energy, no passion for it, no thoughts, nothing. So if your whole you is opening up, then you're on the right track.
Oh, that is the key, isn't it? And recognizing, for me, I always say, well, we have all of these thoughts. We're getting 9,000 thoughts a second almost. Things are being bombarded, especially today with our media and our constant technology hitting us, iPhones, webinars, television, whatever, advertisements. So we are getting all these thoughts all the time. So for me, it is a case of, okay, and I learned from experience, don't run after that first thought, but recognize what you are saying. Notice, be in the moment, notice how your body is feeling. Yeah. And also, what I have found is that For me, if I get the same thought 3 times, it's time to notice. Okay, this person popped into my head 3 times in the last 5 minutes, 3 days, whatever, recently, the last week, 3 times. I better start taking action. This is my intuition. It's time to pick up the phone and call them. It's time to communicate. It's something. Reach out to them, learn more, take time, give yourself permission, and do it. But I know deep in my heart that we're on the same track here, Maurice. We know how to understand our intuition and use it to our highest good and the good of those around us. But is there any science that backs this up?
Yes, there is.
Oh,
And that's
cool.
actually, yeah, and it's really cool, to be honest. For a couple of months ago, I had a talk about emotional intelligence, about different personality types, and I ended up with a question on intuition. And there was one guy there, an investor. He was really like that, and intuition is horse crap. Excuse my language. He was very, very harsh on intuition, and he started to cite all kinds of authors and science and this and that. And I thought, wait a minute, I have no arguments here. I mean, I had arguments, but I couldn't really, I couldn't stand my ground. So I did some research on it, and there's a lot more science than you could imagine. Nobel Prize winners, for example, but I can mention one. And basically all other high-profile writers and authors and famous people like Daniel Kahneman refer to a person called Antonio Damasio. He is a Portuguese-American neuroscientist, and he is famous for famous for a lot of stuff, but about awareness, how we measure awareness in our brains. But apart from that, he's famous for the Iowa gambling task, which basically it's a laboratory test where he basically proves how the body registers danger or a safe bet long before our conscious us can register it. So long before our brain start thinking like, wait a minute, I should make that choice, I should choose that option. Long before that, 4 times quicker, the body has already noticed what's danger and what's safe. So if we are tuned in to our bodily intelligence signals, if we are aware of our body, how we feel, what I didn't do when I ran into the wall, when I ran into a burnout, when I got sick, if I had listened, I would have prevented that catastrophe in my life. So Antonio Damasio has just proven how our body, how it works, how our body sends signals and how they reach our awareness. And then the question is, how many of these signals do we notice and what do we do with it? But he has proven it. He's one of many, by the way. And he has done something else that is fantastic. And that is, I know your audience is mostly women. And in business, we often may hear that emotions, they're just in the way of making good decisions. And women, they can overreact emotionally, all that kind of wordings we may hear. And well, if we would take away emotions out of decision making, we would make no decisions at all, nothing. And the ones we would make would be catastrophically bad. And the reason for that is that we can't discern, we can't make a judgment call without emotions. We can have the data, we can have past events, but if you would take away the center in our brains that actually registers emotions, we can still remember our past events, but they will be like black and white. They would not be in color. And it's the emotions that add color to our memory and our thoughts, and then we can make a judgment. And he has proven that. Why? Because he has studied people that have lost that ability to register emotions. and they couldn't make basic or difficult calls. They couldn't, and they had bad relationships. So
Interesting.
and these, yeah, and this is just, these two studies are being cited globally by Nobel Prize winners, among other. So it's we need our intuition, we need our emotions, and if you would think away that, you might as well wrap up and go home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mind, body, spirit situation, isn't it? We need it all, not just one. We can't just feel into our emotions and our hearts and our desires and everything appears. No, we need to take action. And part of that action is recognizing that we have more than just the body. We have that mind, and looking at it, and I'm a great analyzer. All right. I'm in my mind a lot.
Yeah, you strike me as a head type. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me, by the way.
It's just looking at the facts. And have I heard this before? Yes. Okay. So I've heard this before. So why am I listening to it again? Because there is a little bit of a different take on it that makes a little bit more sense. So I'm going to tune a little bit more, because we could always learn from every conversation, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. We can always learn from a conversation.
But Karen, can I add one more thing there?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's another study from a German professor, and he has studied and proven and written about something called the evolved brains, which in a nutshell means that our intuition is ingrained in our DNA. We pass on our winning strategies, intuitive strategies, through our DNA to our offspring. And that's why children are often so extremely well tuned in.
I'm so glad you interrupted me. That is so cool.
And when I read that, then all of a sudden it all just made sense. It's so obvious. Why wouldn't we pass on our winning intuitive strategies into our DNA? Why wouldn't we? I mean, that's what our DNA is for. We are hard coded to think intuitively. It's just that we are sort of untaught how to do it. We're sort of unlearned in school. We're being taught to read, to rationalize, to compute. But there's too much information out there. We need our intuitive signals. And once you understand that we actually are hard coded to think like that, then it all makes sense. To me, at least.
It does, doesn't it? It can really make a huge impact. So how do you use this to improve your sales? If you were you work with businesses, larger businesses, correct?
Yes.
So
larger businesses, smaller businesses, and
so when leaders. You go into a larger or a smaller business, what sorts of things do you look for that could be improved?
If it's on the emotional intelligence part, well, I can start over. I can say it from scratch. I look in 4 areas. That is methodology and structure. So how do organizations work? How do they work, basically? How do they operate? It's very much the management area. Then I watch culture and leadership, how leadership works. Is there leadership? If there's unofficial leadership. And then I work with coaching and training. So management and leadership, and then I help with coaching and training. And what I look for in well, if we take sales, for example, but all leadership, let's start with leadership then. I had a sales director, and she told me a story that in her bi-weekly one-to-ones with one of her team members, she noticed that something was off with one of those team members. It was a good call, but something was off. And it kept nagging her, but she didn't act on it. And 2 weeks later, that person, that team member, came to her and quit her job.
Ooh.
And I'm not saying that she could have prevented that, but maybe she could have done something. Maybe there was something she could have done. And what I'm looking for is that if you speak to another human being, are you truly aware? Are you truly reading that other person? Are you familiar? Can you read the signals? And we all know that 70% of our communication is like non-verbal, is body language. And I always ask, like, and who is that body talking to? I mean, that's talking to your body. It's body language. It's not your head.
Yeah.
So what is your body telling you when you are talking to someone else? And start reading the signs, and what you hear, is that congruent with what you see? And is there a frown? Is there a smile? Is the person at ease? And that doesn't mean that your intuition is correct, but doesn't mean that your interpretation of your intuition is correct.
Yeah.
So you need to, I can see, so you need to investigate it a little bit. So don't go blindly on it. Just pick it up and think, oh yeah, okay, I need to do something with this.
Exactly. And that was where I was struggling for so many years. Was, okay, I'm going to go blindly into this, but no, that was not right for my head. And it was almost a conflict. So being able to recognize what was really going on and continuing to learn, ask the questions. All right, what is going on? Why am I feeling like this? Or what is the confusion that you have? What is the communication? And of course, I had very low self-esteem. And it was people pleaser, self-doubter. I didn't know who the heck I was. No, not even a clue. So it's taken a while to get to the point that I could let go of being a people pleaser and the self-doubt, and honor with what the types of things that you help teach people to create that confidence.
Yeah, it's not as if it has come easy for me either. I'm now 47. I'm now finally doing this, but this has been with me for a very long time.
I hate to tell you, you're very young. For me, it was when I was 60. It finally hit. So
good.
So
thank you.
No,
I feel better.
no. And and looking back, I realized that my entire life, from being a toddler, yes, there was a lot more insight than I gave myself credit for. And you too, at 46, you're finding the ways and the means to do it. But you recognize that as a child, you were probably experiencing those things as well.
Oh yeah. I've always been a sensitive child, highly sensitive person, HSP. I'm not sure if that's a term in the US as well.
I don't know what that is. No, tell
me. HSP is a highly sensitive person.
Oh, all right. Yes. Okay. I just have not heard the. Yes.
But as often is with those kids, they are not necessarily weak or perceived as weak. They react strongly because they have such strong feelings, and then they are being regarded as troublemakers or rebels easily. And then people don't look beyond that, and I don't see the vulnerability in another human being, in a child. So I grew up with a lot of rebel trouble, to be honest. And that became sort of my identity. I'm the James Dean of the school. And I sort of that's good. I'm strong. But the only thing I did is I just buried my own intuition, my own intelligence, really, my real me. And it took decades to get that out again. Now it's finally getting there. And what I can add to that is we have the 3 channels. And there's also something called, well, I call it at least the 4th component of intuition, our moral compass. So that's the area of your judgment of what's right for you and wrong for you and your life path. And if you're not listening to it, because it doesn't have a voice of its own, it comes via your head, heart, or body. And the ultimate, by the way, the ultimate unconscious language of intuition in the end is love. That's the ultimate one, right? If you're in love with someone, you don't steer that, it's just there. And if you love something, not just somebody, but also something, the whole you will be energized, you'll have ideas, you'll be happy, all your channels are there. If you don't follow your moral compass, you will pay a price. You will most likely be unhappy and bitter. So show me a highly bitter person and I will show you a person that is not following his or her moral compass. I'm sure about that. So
I love that. I love that because you're absolutely right. And there are no coincidences. And I've been thinking just this week about, okay, Karen, being such a people pleaser and a self-doubter and follow what other people say and suggest, how come you didn't get into more trouble? And where did you find the strength to say, well, that's cool, enjoy it, it's not for me? And I easily walk away from things. And sometimes it's running away from things. but indeed, so having that moral compass, that's what that's called, is saying, all right, I'm all in, let's give it a try. I'm open. If it's not going to hurt you or somebody else, give it a shot. And knowing that it might hurt me or somebody else, and I'm ready to walk away. And that's a moral compass. That's the word that I can now put on it. So thank you so much, Maurice. I love it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, what happens if you don't follow it? I mean, how do you feel if you're going again? Yeah,
absolutely miserable, because it isn't you. You're not being authentic to yourself. Yeah. So I know you actually shared with me some resources that were right on, and I'm all about resources. So would you share with our audience some of your resources that you might make available to them?
Yeah. Which ones did you have in mind now?
Are they the Enneagram?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes. My company is called Sales Type, and that's because it's based on various types of people. There are 9 of them, and the psychological model that I am certified in is called the Enneagram. It's an old Greek name. Ennea means 9 types. And the links that I shared with you, well, basically every type has a blind spot. Like, what you don't see about yourself? What does your customer or your colleague notice? What's your unaware behavior? And the beauty of this model is that there are 9 types. 3 of them are so-called head types, 3 are heart types, and 3 are body types. So it fits in perfectly with how these types perceive others, but also intuition and what they see as the real, the inner me. So it's really about, it's actually emotional intelligence 2.0. It's really about deep self-awareness. It's hard work. It's not fun at all.
Not fun?
It's confronting.
Oh, no, it's got to be fun somehow, somewhere. It has to have some fun in there.
It is.
In order to, it really does. But, and I think the key to that fun is people sometimes say, Karen, it isn't always fun. Let's be real, it isn't. And I totally agree. It isn't always fun. But the outcome is going to be so hugely beneficial that it is, when you find the right person to mentor you, to coach you, to be of benefit to you, and there is a connection, it can be a lot of fun. And I expect that with Maurice, not even expect, I know with Maurice, it's always a great time. Yes, sometimes you sit down and cry, but with those tears, you can release. And when you release, you can move forward. You just need to find somebody like Maurice to guide you along. I love this. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, how can people get in touch with you?
The simplest way is either to go to my homepage, which is one word, salestype.se. So that's one word, salestype.se. And there you'll find my emails, my mobile number. I'm also on LinkedIn. Simply type Maurice Jenkens, sales type, and then you will find me. That would be the best way.
Awesome. Awesome.
Or ask you.
Or ask me. That's right. Reach out to me. I will absolutely put you in touch with this amazing man. And so what is going on in your world today that you are making available to your general public?
Yeah, so I'm talking about intuition at work. If I understand the question right. So I'm a speaker about intuition at work, and I also provide modules for emotional intelligence, and those can be geared basically towards any profession. It could be leaders, it could be salespeople, coaches. The foundations are the same. It's about reading the other person or getting into touch with the other person. And in order to do that, you have to be in touch with yourself. You have to register the feelings and the emotions that you are going through when you're speaking to someone else. So that's the module, and it comes in different colors and flavors adapted to your business.
Oh, wow.
Or simply coaching, one-to-one coaching.
So with the modules, are these things that you purchase online and you watch at your own time, or are they scheduled? Or
oh no, yeah, they're live.
Oh, they're live.
Yeah, so it's well, depending on where we are on this world, I would say, when it's face to face, I can do a whole day. It's easier. When it's webinar, I do half days. Otherwise, it gets too much. It's too intensive. But webinars on emotional intelligence have a distinct touch to it, since it's through the lens. Yeah. And we all coach nowadays via Zoom, and we have our speaking slots online. So how do you make sure you keep your emotional intelligence? We all know we touch each other, but we can't always see it through a camera. So that's a different angle there. So yeah, but basically, to answer your question, it's online and it's live.
Fantastic.
I am though planning. It's in progress. My homepage is being upgraded, and then we are adding online courses, as in completely online. You can simply order them.
Oh, cool, 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 cool. I love that. Going back to the body language you were talking about, and for me, I am always telling my clients, change your perception, change your truth. And how do you learn? But
that is so
learning.
Right.
Change your perception, change your truth. And one of the things was a fellow, I looked at him, and he had a shaved head, dressed all in black, And he walked out into the, and this was 20 years ago. And he walked out into the audience and said, oh, the energy, the emotions, I can feel them all. And I'm sitting there saying, yeah, right. You're full of it. You're just trying to make a sale. That's all you're trying to do. You are so full of it. Prove it. So he gets up on stage, and I can see it to this day. It was transformative for me. And you are doing the same thing, I know. And that is, I leaned in, and all of a sudden my hands went down, and I'm leaning in and I'm leaning in. And one of the things that he said was, I love you all. And I thought, bull hockey. You don't know me. You don't love me. Give me a break. And this is where semantics and definition come in so hugely in business and everything, is to understand that you're on the same wavelength. So he gave the definition of love. And his definition of love is, when my heart touches your heart, we are one. Namaste. And I thought, well, yeah. So if that's your definition of love, yeah, I love you too. You know?
That works.
Change your perception, change your truth, and whatever it takes in that communication. And that's what you help people understand, is how to communicate in a way that builds their business, and understand where you're coming from and where your clients are coming from. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So within sales or business, or not just sales and business, but within any relationship, it's easy for a person to simply talk. And where I come from, we have the saying that speaking is silver and listening is gold. So it happens easily to just talk and just blur away the moment. Whereas if you listen, if you observe, and you give space to the person you're talking to, then you actually create a lot more trust. So that's what I help my clients with. But what you said about change your perception, and that is so right. It's so right. When I hear you speak, I can't help thinking, like, maybe you are the same Enneagram type as I am. Type 6, the loyalist, is also known as the skeptical.
I'm skeptical.
The self-doubt, the people pleaser, the skeptical, like, can I really believe this? It's really funny. I'm the same. Don't come to me and try to charm me with some cheap blah blah blah. I want to be sure. I want to really be sure before I trust it. I'm a horrible buyer.
And that is honestly why I always have a meeting with my guests prior to the podcast, to see, if they are the real deal. I only want people with the real deal, that really have the programs, the knowledge, the caring, the love that creates an awesome life. And that is, so yeah, maybe we are the same way then.
Yeah, I get it. I get that feeling a little bit, like, and then change your perception. Like, I really can buy that. Once you, I've had a story here of a colleague that I didn't like. I really disliked her strongly. But at some point, I did this exercise at home. I meditated, and I meditated on loving that person, not loving like man and woman, but simply from human to human. I love you. Yeah, from heart to heart. Yeah, and start sending her real good thoughts and heartfelt compliments. Did that 3 times with 3 different people, and it worked all 3 times. The next day I came to work, I had a good friendly talk with her, and she greeted me and I greeted her back, and all of a sudden we had a talk about something with the coffee machine, and we became, well, good colleagues. And I thought, wait a minute. And then afterwards, it was about 2 years later, she asked me, like, I thought you didn't like me. What do you mean?
Well, that's true. When you change you, because you only have control over yourself, right? You can't control anyone else. And if it isn't working, you need to look at why and not blame somebody else, but what can you do instead? So like you said, you sent out that love, but you were also changing you inside because you didn't go in with that judgment of this horrible person.
Exactly. Exactly, Karen, because what is it that you send out? I mean, we are talking about reading the other person we are talking to, those 70% non-verbal communication. That's good stuff. But at the same time, we ourselves are sending out body language, and 70% of our communication is body language in some way. And we don't always have control of that. We don't see that. That's why it's called our blind spot. So if I show up at the coffee machine and I see that person that I don't like, I mean, I can say hi, but you really think that person can't read me?
Exactly.
She reads me, oh, no, he doesn't like me.
Exactly.
So, but if I show up with a big smile, like heartfelt, as you say, then that's being noticed. And so, yeah, we are so intuitive with each other, but this is the thing. We speak about it. Your clients may talk about it, but at a average workplace, people don't talk about intuitive signs. They don't talk about that.
No. And you know what? Sometimes that work, like you were doing, I had a client who was working so hard. He was going to be fired. He had traumatic brain injury and he was going to be fired because his anger issues exacerbated triple fold, quadruple fold after his traumatic brain injury. And he said, all right, so I'm trying to do the work that you've taught me. I'm using your heart energy techniques. I am trying to stay positive, but I have this person in the office that is driving me crazy because she is so negative and her negative energy keeps coming to me. So we did a lot of work around that. And he said, okay, I'll work on this. I'll work on this. And he went to work. And the next time I saw him, he said, Karen, you won't believe it. That woman I couldn't deal with, who's been in my office for the last 20 years, she got a transfer to another office. I don't have to work with her anymore. I think that might have been the energy that you were putting out.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. How if you're done, right?
Yeah, he tried. He said, I tried to do what you suggested, and I tried to relate to her, and I tried to communicate with her, and it isn't working. It's just coming back with this negativity that is dragging me down. So yeah, the law of attraction at its best sometimes. The laws of the universe are alive and well and living among us, whether we want to see them or not. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and this, to be honest, is a big issue for me, how to trust that. How to truly trust that.
Yeah.
I can walk into a store and, this morning, this is actually true. This morning I was walking towards the gym, and I was a little bit not happy. I was a little bit like, oh my God, the world is as it is. I mean, there's this war, there's economy, there's so much stuff going on. I'd rather go back to sleep. My dreams are much better than reality.
Let's pull that blanket up over our head.
Yeah, I'm going back to sleep. Just wake me up and it's all over. And then so I really wish I really wish I could meet someone today that told me like you'll be fine. Everything is fine. And I went to the gym and you do your round there and there's music, and at some point there was this song and I just jumped out, and I don't even know the what song it was, but the lyrics were like, you'll be fine. You will just need some time and space. Everything will be okay.
Oh, wow. Oh,
It's like,
wow.
it's just the small moments in life, that's, oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Just trust, have trust. You'll be fine. You don't have to worry. Well,
Maurice, I cannot believe we have had such a great conversation, and I'm so grateful. We'll just have to have you back again on the Awesome Life podcast because yes, we were meant
happy to
to
do so.
meet. And our listeners recognize that there are no coincidences. The people you meet are people who can serve you somehow. Sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, but it's how you look at it and how you learn from it that inspires you to greatness, to live your awesome life. And I will have all of Maurice's contacts and links and everything in the show notes. So look down below and be sure to subscribe and like and hit the notification button on YouTube where the conversation is, and you can see this handsome gentleman. So thank you again for joining me, Maurice. It has been a total pleasure.
Thank you, Karen. It's really a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.